Hello. Hopefully you can hear me. And I don't sound too bad. Yeah, it's weird talking into a mic and not hearing anybody else. Hey. Okay. So. Ooh. Welcome. In Omnicron. So. This is Aseprite. This is the thing that I use. At the bottom of the screen, you can see there's a little lizard. The lizard down at the bottom going across. It's going to be hanging out with us. So, Aseprite's really simple. Aseprite's whole deal is that it's for pixel art. Like, that's it. It doesn't try to do anything else. It's just for pixel art, and it does it really, really well. It's everything that you would need for pixel art. It's great. It's got a little preview window, so you can always see 100% whatever you're working on. All the tools that you would need. Palettes. Pre-built. Very nice. What else? Let's see. Okay. So, Aseprite's main thing is the pencil tool. It's simple. This is your core pixel art tool, the pencil tool. Yes, you can zoom all the way in and all the way out. No other art program lets you zoom in. Ever. That's new, zooming in. There's also the spray. Nobody uses the spray. Don't use the spray. You're better off placing pixels yourself. The eraser. I mean, it's simple. This is essentially MS Paint, but focused only on doing pixel art. There's nothing here that's like extraordinary. It's just it does what it does, and it does it well. It doesn't do anything else. You have your paint bucket. The cool thing about paint bucket is you can also make gradients. And with the gradients, you can even have it be dithered. So you can make your own dithers like automatically. I don't use a lot of dithering like this, but you can. Oh shit, hold on. There we go. It's also your line tool, pretty basic. You know, click and drag, hold shift, and it snaps. Curve tool. Don't ever use the. I don't ever use the curve tool. You might, if you need it, but the curve tools have always confused me. Always. What did I just undo? Oh. Your shapes. They're basic. I don't really recommend starting out using a bunch of shapes. I think if you're first learning pixel art, you should learn what makes a good curve. Learn those steps. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But learning the curves, what makes a good curve when you're doing pixel art, is really important. Squares. A cool thing that they just added recently is when you have this, when you still have it held down, hold Alt, and you can turn it. It's pretty cool. Control. Oh god. Control makes it move from the center. Shift makes it even. Contour tool, pretty cool. And then blur and dither. Show these off real quick. Another dithering tool and blur. You're not going to use blur with pixel art. Whenever I use Aseprite to make shitty photoshops, I use blur a lot. But other than that, yeah, it's fine. Now here's the fun part. Animation. Down here at the bottom is all your shit. This is all your animation. Everyone's a frame. Animation controls, onion skinning, all that good stuff. So you can see if I did this, you can see all the things as they would show up. Ooh. It's like I said. Oh, onion skinning. Onion skinning is here. Let's show you. Whenever you make a new sprite, you can set the width and height, color mode, background. Color mode's kind of complicated at first. RGBA lets you use any color you want. Grayscale is just grayscale. Index will only lets you use the colors that are over here in the palette. You can't use any other colors that aren't in the palette. So show off the a little bit of animation and drawing tools. Let's make a little dude. Just gonna kind of replicate what you saw before you came in, or before I started this thing. I'm gonna do the dancing guy. So, turn on onion skinning. Hit Alt-N for a new frame. You can see down here that we have 2 frames now. Gonna go ahead and delete this one. And with onion skinning, you see your previous frame. You can see like a ghost of what it looks like. And you can go in here and you can customize like what all onion skinning looks like, how opaque it is. You can put it in front or behind the sprite. You can make it red and blue. There's a lot of settings in here. So we're going to come down here. We'll do this. We'll make him go up. So we have this. And here's another trick that is really easy. So I have these 2 frames. I'm going to duplicate this one by holding Alt, hovering over this, clicking and dragging. I got this one now. I can. So it's a little picky. I don't even know if you can see it if the quality's high enough, but whenever you select a frame, there's this little yellow border around it. And if you click and drag on that, it lets you move that frame around. So I moved this one to the end, and then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one again by holding Alt, doing that. Okay. So, animation principles, squash and stretch. So whenever he goes down for this first frame, it's going to be more squashed and more stretched. Yeah. Essentially, these are my keyframes. And I'll get into more detailed animation, but this is just like a basic rundown. And then we're going to stretch and squish inward. And so then we can go. And you can see up here in the preview, it plays it too without the onion skinning. And a cool thing you can do is, if you're working on animation and you want to constantly see the preview, you can just go up here and click on this little play button, and it'll play it no matter what you do here. So I can make edits here, and they show up here in the preview without me having to constantly be playing the animation. It's really cool. Okay, so that's pretty much the basics of the animating tools here. That's not something. And then we have keyboard shortcuts. Oh look, it's playing through up here. So Aseprite has a ton of really good keyboard shortcuts. B is your brush, G is your fill tool, E is eraser. Those are the ones that I use the most. Space, you hold down space, and you can move stuff around, which is really nice for getting around the canvas. If you use your mouse, right click uses your second color down here whenever you are drawing. I don't use the mouse. A lot of people, it seems kind of split between pixel artists whether they use the mouse or the tablet. Also, Control or V. What is it? Hold on. V. It's Alt. Whenever you hold Alt, it's the eyedropper. So I kind of have my hand over Control, Z, and space, like 3 fingers on those 3, because Z is zoom, which is good to have. Control Z is undo, and Control is move stuff around. But so for like animation, the arrow keys move you through frames, which is a good one to know. And I have a shortcut set up for playing an animation, Control Space, so that way I don't have to go down here and push play every time. Also, with brush size, I have keyboard shortcuts for the comma and period, the greater than and less than, to change brush sizes. And it's really easy to add a shortcut because you can just come in here and find the thing you want to do and change. Right here. Increase the size, decrease the size, somewhere right here. They're both right here. So that's keyboard shortcuts. Palettes. So Aseprite comes preloaded with a whole bunch of pixel art palettes, a ton of them, in case you have trouble picking colors or you just want to sort of like challenge yourself. It's pretty cool to be able to just pop in, pick a palette that has a bunch of weird colors, and then try and use just that. I use a lot of Arnie 32. I like Arnie 32 a whole bunch. It has really nice colors. But you can also hop in and use the NES colors or the ZX Spectrum. There's a whole bunch of really good colors that you can use here. And keeping with colors, you have your color thing over here, your color picker. It's very useful. You can edit it. You can choose it to be the color spectrum, wheel, all that good stuff. You can sort your palettes and stuff. Yeah, the Virtual Boy. If you want to destroy your eyes, you can make it be the Virtual Boy. And here's a cool thing. If you're using a palette, if you're like, okay, so I want to use the Virtual Boy palette, but I already did my drawing, you can hit index, and now my drawing is set to the closest matching colors that are in the palette. So it looks horrible. But if you're like sticking to a palette or want to mess around with your art, it's fun to see what kind of colors, do stuff. It's also like if you have a drawing or a photo, it's really easy to go in and make it look like pixel art by changing it to index and like lowering color count. It can do some kind of cool stuff. So, my personal workflow. Here we go. Let's go over here. Okay. Let's actually make a new one. So, one thing about the preview thing that you should know is if it ever goes away, like if I close it, If you come down here and click this, it comes back and it goes away. So it also does some weird stuff with the screen sometimes. So usually when I'm working, I start off with just doing solid big colors. A lot of pixel artists I know work with, they do the line art first, like a more traditional art style, and I used to do that way too, but I hate doing the cleaning up for the line art. So I kind of just mashed my two, the way that I wanted to do pixel art together with the way that getting rid of the way that I didn't like to do pixel art. And so now I have this. Do I think it's worth it getting a tablet? Okay. It depends. I've had this same tablet since before I went to high school. So for me personally, it's been extremely worth it. But I don't know if they still make tablets the way that mine was made. There's a lot of factors here. So maybe. Maybe. If I wasn't using it for pixel art, I wouldn't use it at all, because I would hardly use it because I don't draw a lot normally, because I don't have nearly as much fun doing that. So I guess it kind of depends on what you want to do, because Holly Goldwright in the chat the reason why I'm doing this is to sort of show her how I do pixel art, and she just started getting into pixel art and doesn't use the tablet very much. So you kind of have to figure out if it's worth it for you. I feel like I can do pixel art like significantly faster when I'm using a tablet. So it makes it a lot more worth it for me. Okay. So we have this silhouette, and I'm going to lay down some colors. It's not a horse mask, it's one of those dogs with the dumb flat faces. I don't even know what they're called. Some sort of terrier. Bull terrier? Okay. So let's lay down a little bit more color before going into the next step. Whoops. Oops. Okay, this is fine. So, I have a sprite. Yes, exactly. Thank you. So, I have a sprite. And what I want to do with that sprite is I want to give it an idle bounce. I know this from the get-go. I know exactly what I want to do with it. And because of that, in my personal workflows, I don't want to go in and finish and polish up this sprite on the first frame. I want to go in and make sure that the animation flows good and looks good first. So, here's something you can... This is a thing that you can actually probably use. I do a lot of idle bounces just for commissions or for someone... For game stuff, because I mean that's kind of like that's the default idle, is a little idle bounce up and down. 4 frames is usually the base. I just hit Alt-N right there. Just Alt-N gives you a new frame. So animation can be really intimidating at first, but like broken down, it's just you going by in passes. Adding more and more. So for this first frame, all we're going to do is we're going to do the thing that everybody doesn't like, which is drag it up with 1 at the knee, and then we're going to do this, except we're going to go down 2, and then we're going to go down 1. Well, not right there, because we don't want to cover up the feet. Boop. So if you look up here, we'll play it right here. Looks like this. It doesn't look great. You can scroll on this, and it changes it. Like, I'm on a really high resolution monitor, so it makes it extremely small at 100%, so scrolling in once usually makes it pretty good. So we have this animation. It doesn't look good. It looks bad. But we can make it look good just by adding in little bits here and there. I'm going to add a background so we can see it pop a bit better. We'll just make it this gray. So what I did there right here is you can see that all these cells here are all connected. That means that they're all the same drawing, they're all the same sprite. So if I edit it, then they'll all change. Okay. So when he's going up, the things that everything else is going to kind of have to follow. So for example, his arm is going to go down, is going to stay down, because they have to follow through. They have to, the motion is coming from the center of the body, so the arms, the ears, maybe even the tip of the nose goes down. And also, since he's coming up with his feet, then that's going to be up a little bit. Oop. Oop. And then we can add in another one. Oop. Do this, raise it up a little bit. Now, boop, boop, boop. And you can see right here the things that got stuck right here that were still moving up have finally caught up in this new frame that we added. And then we can, in the next frame where he goes all the way down, like really far down, we can make them go up. Whenever you select M is the marquee, and if you right click whenever you are and you drag it, and you'll deselect whatever you have. I have it bound to my one of my buttons on my tablet pen. His nose isn't going to make a lot of movement. And then, since these are still following through, so in this frame they're still up at the top. They're coming down a little bit, but they're still up at the top. And so in this frame they have to hit that bottom. They have to be at their lowest at this point. So they're going to be moved down one. Nose, big fat snoot. And then the ears. And then we can add one more frame that moves them back up. I said 4, but I've gotten so used to doing 6 that may as well just do 6. I really like that little extra oomph that the pause gives it. It gives it a second to catch up. And you can see up here, it's not a perfect animation, but like for a nice quick idle bounce, this will get you far. Add some squash and stretch to the feet. And then like you can, so now that we have this, this is at the point where I would go in and I would polish it up. Like the animation is done, I go in and I would clean up the first frame, and then from there use whatever I have on the first frame, either completely redoing the whole animation with the sort of arcs that I already have here, or just going in and polishing each frame as it's done. But like another pass that you could make is, okay, so it's really vertical. It's there's not a lot of like horizontal movement. So okay, whenever you're going up, I imagine that's like squishing your body in, so we can make everything sort of do this and get sort of squished inwards as he's going up, so that way it pops back out. And then when you're going down, maybe would it be squished in? Would it be? No, right? I think so. I don't know. I don't know enough about animation. Here, everything would be coming out as he's landing. See? Now we have a cute little animation, and you can even go in and do stuff like maybe when you can make a hand, like you make him twist the knife or something like that. You can do all kinds of really cool stuff, but let's do this. So I want to have the animation play 3 times, and then I'll have him blink in one of the animations. So in this last one we're going to have it blink. So I've just been dragging and, you know, duplicating these layers by holding Alt after selecting them. Right click, new tag frame. So frame tags are really great for organizing your animations, especially if you're animating one character doing a bunch of different things, or a bunch of different characters on one canvas. It's like one of those things where like you don't have to use it, but if you like to keep your stuff organized, it helps a lot. So we're gonna make this be blink. Choose the frames that it's for. Automatically has these two. You can choose the color of the tag and you can choose how it's animated. So in blink, we're gonna have the character blink on the down hit. I guess it doesn't really look like much, but that will be our blink. And you can see up here, it's only playing the stuff in the tag. Whenever I play here, it's only playing the tag, and that's a benefit of the tags, is that it separates your animations up into smaller animations that you can play on your own. But if you want to play the whole thing together, just go somewhere outside of the tag and play it, and it plays the whole thing. It's very useful in organizing everything. Same with layers and all that stuff. Okay, so that's pretty much my workflow. Let's see here. Let's stop that. Okay, some tips and tricks with Aseprite. So one of the things with Aseprite is when you first get it, it may not look super appealing to you because the UI might be kind of wonky. So the preferences menu, there's a lot of stuff hidden in here. Edit preferences. You can change the screen scaling and the UI element scaling. I have them both set to 200 because if I set it to 100, it's so small that I can't see it on my monitor. But I think the default might be a bit chunkier, and you may like it a bit chunkier. So, but I don't know if this is default, the automatically save recovery data, but it needs to be, because Aseprite, I love Aseprite. It's cheap. It's paid for itself like 100 times over for me. It's updated frequently, but it has this issue sometimes where it won't come up, and if I haven't saved my work in a long time, which I have a habit of doing, then it becomes a huge issue with losing work. So when it saves every 2 minutes, I essentially don't lose anything because it saves it in recovery sprites that you can just open back up and save. Let's see. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here that I really recommend you going through and messing with to see what works for you. So I'm opening up a new sprite to show you. So these little tiles in the background, they're there to sort of like break up the background for you. It makes it easier on your eyes. But also, by default, if you double click on any of these squares, or anywhere really, it will automatically select a 16 by 16 square. And the reason for that is because you have a grid that is always on in the background, that is default at 16 by 16, and you can show grid. It's right there. And it's really useful for if you're working with a specific tile size, and you can change it to, say, 32 by 32 if you're working with like RPG Maker sprites. That's usually what you're going to be working with, and whenever you do that, it makes the double click instead be 32 by 32, and you say, Kyle, why would I need to double click an area to make the marquee select just that? Because the fill tool has a very, very cool function up here. It's the contiguous checkbox. It's really good. So okay, you're working with a bunch of sprites. You have a huge sprite sheet filled with a ton of different little dudes. You have a whole bunch of dudes. Okay. But all you want is to color. You think, oh, okay, so I have these dudes, but oh no, I need to change the color on this one, but I don't want to go through and like click on every single pixel So you get your fill tool, you click contiguous, and it will replace every single. I guess it's not really showing it very well. Let's try to show it better. Let's use a bunch of different colors. Some hair, some eyes, some gloves, and shoes. Okay. So, also really helps with deleting stuff. So I have these 3 dudes. I want to make them different, but I don't want to go through and change the colors on them manually, so with contiguous unselected, deselected, you can go through and change it by it fills in every instance of that color for that sprite, and it makes editing colors very easy and very quick. Okay, so that's one thing. It also works with the magic wand tool. Contiguous is also right here. With magic wand tool, it selects all of that color for you, so you can delete it or change it. It's pretty cool. But also with the magic wand tools, you can do something really quick and easy that's normally a huge pain in the ass, which is outlining. For some pixel artists, it won't matter because they do their outlining in a totally different stage, but for me, it saves a lot of time because I can just select the empty space, so I have everything but the sprites selected. Then I can inverse up here under select, so that only has the sprites selected. Okay. And then I can modify that selection to expand by 1 pixel. And now I essentially have the outlines already done for me, as I have contiguous deselected. Boom. The sprites are outlined. And then I can go in and clean it up since I want to keep these 32 by 32. With the eraser and the brush tool, if you select or tap somewhere, hold shift, it makes a line to your current brush location, which is pretty useful in doing, geometric shapes and quick things. Let's see, what's some other quick stuff? I don't know. I think that's pretty much everything. Tips and tricks. Okay, this is important. So, saving, exporting, and posting pixel art is hard on sites that aren't made for pixel art. Twitter especially hates pixel art. So for pixel art on Twitter, you'd want it to be wider than it is tall, which is kind of like what you want for any kind of art on Twitter, so that way it's not, parts of it aren't cut off. You can't really, sometimes you can't avoid that if you have like a longer piece, but so let's say with these guys. No, let's do this little animation. So we have this little sprite. We're gonna crop it so that way it's kind of like in a horizontal view. Crop, so we have our little wider than it is tall. We'll knock it up to 80. Nah, let's do 96. Make it a good even 96. So we have our sprite here in the middle. One thing about animating that, let's say this is too fast. You don't want it going this fast. You can select all your frames, right click, frame properties, and you can change how quick the frames play. You can make them go faster. Or you can make them go slower. But okay, we have our sprite. It's wider than it is tall, but it's very, very small. So one thing that Aseprite can do that makes it perfect for posting pixel art on the internet is sprite size. You can resize your sprite to any size you want. I usually aim for 300, but sometimes something like this, 400, works. What you want to do is you want to keep it under 506 pixels up here on the width, ideally, because that's like, I guess, I don't honestly know if it's for sure, but like what I've seen on Twitter is that 506 is the perfect size. So we have our sprite. It's very big now. Then we do sprite, canvas size, 506, boom. We're going to want to fill in this background here some more. So we have our sprite. Okay. Perfect. We're good. Except we're not. Because Twitter turns anything that... Okay. I don't know how it does it. But, like, if it doesn't have some transparency in there, Twitter hates it. Twitter chews it up like it's nothing. So always select a little bit. I usually do a corner. Like if you go back and look at my pixel art that I posted on Twitter, a corner somewhere has been cut out. So that way there's this little bit of transparency up in the corner that you're not even going to notice unless you're looking for. So that way it looks all right on Twitter because that transparency is still there, so Twitter has to treat it good. So essentially we have it ready to post for Twitter. Oh, we don't, actually. Twitter also hates GIFs, like of any kind. So whenever you hit export with Aseprite, you can choose where it's output, its name, Bull Terrier Rogue. My pixel art folder. The size of it, we're going to keep it at 100% because we've already resized it, but here you can resize it in the export, so you wouldn't have to resize it in your actual file, which would work too. You can choose which layers you want to export. You can choose which frames you want to export, and which way it's which direction the animation goes. And you can also choose export for Twitter. Now, export for Twitter is really good because it'll resize it for you, but also Twitter, what it does to GIFs is it makes the last frame of an animation play like twice as long, 3 times as long. It's stupid. So when you click that, it'll make this last frame be quicker. So we export and it's saved. And I can go get it real quick. Oh, I exported as a ACE file, not a GIF. Whoop. There we go. Here we go. Here's our animation that we made. Nothing special, but you know, with some cleaning up, it could be something cute. I mean, it's already pretty cute, but it could be cuter. Okay. So that's pretty much it. This is just super basic, kind of really easy introduction. I'd love to do more streams like this, but it seems like my internet isn't already cooperating tonight, even though last time I did a test stream it was fine, unfortunately. This time it isn't. So, oh well. But yeah, I guess even though I think you all are like fucking a minute or two behind, if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try and answer them. Go ahead and play this a little bit more. Actually, we're going to undo it so we can make it back small so I can actually clean it up sometime. Get rid of these frames. Here's the thing I remembered that I can talk about while I wait for this stream to catch up. When you drag a sprite over here on the side, you can have this open. It's really useful as a reference. Like, I'll copy a reference from the internet and just paste it in here, so that way I can have it always right here, ready to go. It's pretty useful. Oh, one more thing. Okay, so So there's this program called LiceCap. It's, let's see if I can add that in. Window capture. Okay, there it is. Oh god, that's a mess. Never mind. Get rid of that. So, LiceCap is this program that you may have seen. Okay, so you may have seen me do like process GIFs where I have the whole thing, and it just like it's the whole process of the whole drawing being made. It's really easy to do because what you do is you so with the grid thing, is it possible to make it so changing one square changes all of them, like if you're doing... I think so. Tiled mode. See? So, before I go on whatever I was going on about. So now I'm in tiled mode, and the tiles are the entire canvas. Yeah, sorry. My internet's shit. I thought it was good, but it's not. So now it's doing essentially tiles that are this entire canvas. Oh, fuck. Okay, so let's get rid of tiled mode. Tiled mode's really cool. There's also symmetry mode, which you can like see right here, which you can do really cool stuff. Mirrored vertically or horizontally or both. So click those. I'm sorry for my shitty internet. I wish it was better. But anyway, what was I going to talk about? It was going to be something. Shit. Fuck. Shit. What was I doing? Oh, yeah, okay, so the way that I do these process GIFs is I essentially just undo the whole thing. Because Aseprite, because it's a pixel art program, you have a whole bunch of undos. And you can even go on in the settings and edit how many you have. I have it set to infinite because I can do this. So I can just like, I set up LiceCap so it'll record the whole thing. LiceCap's really great. You can just Google it and download it, and then I just redo the whole thing, and it records it as if it's being done live, and it's really cool. And it's also been really fun to go watch and watch that back over. I was gonna record this, but then it became a mess, so I'm probably not gonna, but I might like write down a whole bunch of stuff, like actually sit down and write it out, and so that way it's not just fucking shit on a rip-off PowerPoint slide. But yeah, I think I'll probably do that, because I need to actually go through and think about what I actually use and do, and then have it all written out and maybe record it and make it look all nice and pretty before putting it up on YouTube. If you want to do like, if you're doing a tiles for, like, let's say grass tiles for a video game that uses 16 by 16 tiles, then this is where you would go into tiled mode. And you have your grass. Yeah, it's bad. Hey, stay hydrated, bots here. Thank you, probably SP. I think we went through the whole soundtrack of Bastion, which means I probably should be ending soon. So now I have some grass tiles. Oh god, I gotta put some other music on or I'm gonna go crazy. Just sitting here listening to myself. So that's pretty much it. I'll wait for everybody to catch up because y'all are like 2 minutes behind, I think, which sucks. And I didn't know a stream could have that much delay, but also I've dropped 45% of all of my frames, which is really bad. So, I'm gonna do this. Whenever all y'all see that, I think that's probably going to be it, but I guess if you have any questions, I'll answer them as they pop up in chat.